Seems like the dark ones are rising. Gets better and better.
It's just what has happened to this guitar is just like,
What you just did to our esteemed guest, that's another story.
well, pardon me for burning a hole in your ears, but
Nice, Steve. I love bad company. Yeah, John.
this is like, wow. So, so Joe used to tease me about playing,
Used to.
still does, about playing Kashmir, and I thought it was because I was always playing it wrong, which I did tonight too, but I was playing in the wrong key, playing totally the wrong way. But when I started playing with the guitar today, first time I really got a chance to just screw around with it without any distractions, just I went, you know what? I wonder how far off I am. And so I pulled up that video of Jimmy Page showing the Edge and
Oh, and Jack White. Yeah.
how to play Kashmir.
Yeah.
And he's playing this silver tone guitar, and it's out of tune, and it's just the perfect amount of Jimmy Page slop. And I went, I'm making way too much work out of this. And so I copied what he was doing, and I went, oh, it's really, really easy. And so I did the drop D tuning, and when I dropped this, I drop D this thing once in a while. But this time when I did it, it expanded and started swelling and doing all these things that it never did before. It was close, but it never just did what, like a really lightweight, great vintage guitar does, which is just starts coming alive and stuff starts bubbling out of it in your hands.
So it's rearranging your molecules.
Yeah, and all that little harmonic stuff that's in there. I used to have to force that out. I used to have to hit the strings harder to get it to do that. Now you just breathe on the strings and they'll do it.
But what changed?
Aha!
Well,
Therein lies
and
Yeah.
therein lies an episode. You saw the advanced video that we did, for those of you who saw it.
Well, actually, hold on. Maybe some of you did not see that. So let's rewind a little bit.
Okay.
Because we happen to have a special guest in the house.
one of the nation's leading homosexuals.
Leading?
I'm sorry. That wasn't intended any other than just funny.
So
Because actually, I stole that from, what's his name? Randy Newman.
yeah,
Randy Newman was on stage with and Andy Newmark was playing drums.
Yeah.
Like 60,000 people in Randy. And now, ladies and gentlemen, one of the nation's leading homosexuals, Andy Newmark. So I can't claim it as an original line, but
well, the beauty of it
Hey,
is
that's
the beauty
smart,
of it
right?
is that you're just like fitting right into the show already. I mean, it's just like there are no boundaries here, other than you you engage in bad taste as focused.
As easily as you engage in using.
Yeah, as like with laser precision is all I wanted to say. And then
Yeah.
we're good.
So now that we're canceled,
Yeah, and we'll never see the light of day again. Thanks, Buzz.
Yeah,
was
yeah.
nice having
Well,
a career.
Nice having you here.
so for those of you that
Real
didn't
estate
see
is always not a bad option, you know.
for those of you who didn't see the advanced video lead in to the show, I'd like to introduce a longtime dear buddy, friend, a brother from another mother, an extraordinary guitar player. You've probably heard him so many times that you didn't know that you were hearing him. It would blow your mind if you found out what music that you know and love, that you've heard and listened to all the time and didn't know that he was the guitarist on that music.
but maybe some
but-
stuff that you hate too.
Yeah,
I'm sure you
yes.
played on
And
some
no
things you
doubt,
heard.
Well,
yeah.
there is the Gene Simmons
You were on that.
exercise video.
It's getting good. It's getting good already.
So never mind. It's another story.
That sounds like a wonderful story.
So we hooked up recently, and so Buzz could tell me about a thing that I already knew he was working on, and I had been watching it with some interest. But just out of the blue, he called me and he says, "Hey, I got something I need to show you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I wonder if it's the thing that I've stumbled across, and now I'm going to find out what it's really all about." And so we got together and started hanging out and started doing the things that we did when we hung out together at Valley Arts in 1980, 79, 80, which is just go off. Just go off. The time stops. Anybody else in the room disappears. It's just all about the deep dive. It's like if two dolphins just decided to go down to the bottom of the ocean for 4 or 5 hours, and then come up, and everybody's already gone home. And
let's hear your best dolphin noises on 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, go.
I don't have a guitar on, or I would do it.
Oh, you got to do it like vocalizations.
Yeah, no,
Do
I
you do
have
a
to
dolphin?
I have to play
No.
the guitar. I can make a dolphin noise on a guitar, but I can't do it.
I tried, guys. So you're doing the
So-
hang of all hangs.
So, ladies
the
and gentlemen,
reunion of all reunions.
Buzz Feiten.
Hey! Thanks for
And
coming on.
well, I wanted to have him on before, and he was kind of in hermit mode, so we had to just wait for another couple of orbits before we sort of had a really compelling reason to get together and talk in public about the things that we normally talk about, which is usually just gets so far out there that people just go, "There's these two guys and they're doing this, and I don't know," and it just like, I think I just need a drink. Screw it. But let me put it this way, as by way of leading into what we're going to do today and talk about today. In the previous episode, we talked about the Ultra Lead that's soon to be coming out, and how is it going to be different? Some of you asked, how is it going to be different? What's going to be the new features and blah, blah, blah. And what I answered and what we discussed was that there isn't necessarily a feature or a button or a switch that makes the new Ultra Lead new. It's the refinement of the existing structure of the thing and intent of the thing that can only come from just having been in it for decades.
And also you were
Right.
making the point about, is there any room left to mine ideas out of this old ancient technology, this ancient vacuum tube technology?
Right.
Should we be moving on?
Right.
Right? We were kind of talking
right,
about that.
And
Who's left in this old salt mine?
against the blowback of, Well, all the modeler companies that have all claimed for the last 30, 40 years claimed to have made tube amplifiers obsolete because they've perfected amplifiers to the point where we don't need tube amplifiers anymore because we've made them obsolete, and which is just a preposterous concept in and of itself. But I mean, it's just flat out wrong, because there are layers and layers and layers of things to explore in a tube amplifier circuit, just like there's layers and layers and layers of things to explore in guitars and in guitar effects rigs and power amplifiers and speakers and all kinds of things. There are more places to go. Why don't more people go to those places? Because they haven't had their head in it for decades. They haven't made all the mistakes and gotten through the first 50 levels.
Right. You and I talked.
Yeah, about that. And
there's an awful lot of, this is what the music that we love was made on. So let's just keep iterating on that without maybe going, hold on, wait a minute. Maybe there's something else to be like, just because these saddles came out on Leo's guitars in 1954, okay, we know they sound great, but hold on. Can we examine that again? Can we
Right.
have another peek
Right.
at that? Like, is there another way to approach this?
right. And what the rapport that we've always had is that there's just it's not something that you search out. It's not something I search out. It's just like a natural process of asking the question. Okay,
Both you guys do that.
we got this thing sorted out, but now, and I've said this before, that when you do a design, when you build a thing, or when you write a song or compose a track or whatever, you've got all this stuff, all this baggage, all this stuff in your head that you got to get out. Once you get that out, same as writing a book. You get a manuscript and then you start proofreading it, and then you find 800 things to fix in the manuscript after a proofread. And then after that, you go away for a day and you come back and you proofread again, and there's another 100 things. And then you fix all those, and then you come back another couple of days, and there's another 100 things. And it will always be that way, because there are always, when you get the big stuff out of your head, the smaller, finer stuff starts rising to the top.
Right.
And I've experienced that so much, but when I reconnected with Buzz, I see that he's still on that same journey that I'm on, which is, hey, you know what, if you do this? And I'm like, okay, here we go. All right, so he puts the guitar in my hands, and I go, instantly, I know what you're talking about. I get it. I can feel it. I can hear it. It's like, okay, this is something we need to examine. So I wanted to find out how much of what I was experiencing was just having fun with a new thing, or hear this development in the context of something that I'm so familiar with that I would know the difference instantaneously. That requires that I'm going to modify one of my favorite guitars that I'm really glued to. It's not the best guitar in the world. It's not the
you
tone
know
machine,
it.
but I know it inside and out. Every single splinter and scratch and
Yeah.
the angle of the screws and all that. So when he said, and I can do this to your guitar without drilling any holes, without doing any modification, we just take your thing off and put my thing on, and all the rest of it will stay the same. And I'm like, okay, bold claim, yeah, right. We'll see. So he took my guitar, and I gave you pictures, before and after pictures. Do we have them?
Not ready right now.
Okay.
And I'm looking at you, I'm going, we did the whole setup and we did not turn those into videos.
Okay, all right, well then,
It's okay, we can show that a little bit
we
later.
can show
I'll
that a
figure
little bit
out.
later. But what happened was, he took my guitar and did to it the thing that he has developed that it's not just about, he's known for the, you're known for this, the Buzz Feiten tuning system. And probably a lot of people are familiar with it, that it's a refinement of the standard guitar tuning. But this is a little different. This is a way to not make your guitar tune perfectly, to make your guitar tune in a musically complementary way, that when you play, you are no longer fighting the fight that we all fight playing a guitar, which is, when I play here and tune it to play here, I'm okay, but when I go here, I have to tune it again, and I need to have 3 or 4 instruments, because I need to be able to play with the keyboard. I need a particular kind of guitar that's like perfectly in tune, perfectly intonated, perfectly this and that, so perfect that it's not even a fun instrument to play, but I got to play on this track with the keyboard to make it all lay together, right?
Maybe I can interrupt you for a second.
And I'm going to shut up, because the person that really should be talking about this is sitting right here. But what I experienced was this sort of revelation. And now,
I like to think of this as a giant step backwards. You know,
and I love
it's a giant step backwards. And I'm going to give you a second here. Can everybody see this?
And they can see it, but in order to have you be able to see it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a Les Paul Jr., right?
Yeah, it's 50,
And it's
55.
Right. And it's got, you know,
Stop.
a wraparound
Right.
tailpiece / bridge.
Right.
Right. And I, too, started out on a Junior that I immediately sanded the finish off and painted flames on. So that was what I did to my guitar that would now have bought me several houses.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I was, you know, I've been on a mission to find a standard setup for tremolos, for instance, because they're always so problematic in terms of, once you get it to feel right, then it doesn't tune right. Once you get it to tune right, it doesn't feel right. And it has to do with, obviously, the intonation pattern, the angle of each saddle, and so on and so forth. And I went on this quest for a couple of years, and I finally hit a brick wall. It was just simply too complex. And I'm a tenacious guy, man. I'm a pit bull. When I latch onto that leg, man, I don't let go easily. But I got to a point where I can't do it, sorry. So, you know, in an effort to find a solution to this, suddenly the light bulb went on, because I had been building hardtails for a while with a compensated bridge tailpiece.
Okay.
Not a tunematic and a tailpiece, but it's just a combo. And for some reason, every time I built one of those and kind of got it kind of ballpark adjusted, I play it, love it, put it away, and I'm done. Because it felt so good, because it had that, you know, Les Paul Jr. kind of vibe about
funny.
it.
You're
and
done
that
in what way?
richness and all that. And
Like, you could play the guitar at that point, or you put the guitar away and you didn't play it anymore?
No, I pick it up and play it, I'm done.
Oh, you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, I don't have to
It's
worry about
complete.
it. It's just
Okay,
fun to
great.
play, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
So, because I have that, you know, I'm split brain. When I go into player mode, I'm just like everybody else. You know, I just pick it up, and if it's making me happy, great, cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to think anymore about
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah.
So I said, well, what if what if it were possible, because on a standard tremolo, there's 18 screws,
Yes.
all with little springs and little set screws that wobble in this thread and all that stuff. And I'm sure all of your viewers have experienced, you know, a saddle suddenly doing that,
Oh, yeah.
you know. And suddenly the high E string is like flat on the fingerboard, and so on and so forth. So
There are so many
there's
things.
so many.
that
I
piss you
realize
off
that,
about that.
just the complexity of having to adjust 18 screws to get something to just play in tune and feel good.
And
It was
already,
just
even
daunting.
even the average player is going to go, screw it. The amount of time I'm going to spend on those 18 screws, and what I'm going to end up right back where I started, And
Well,
it's going to be 3 hours later,
Yeah.
and I could have been to rehearsal on time
right.
instead.
It's like the story you told me yesterday.
Yeah.
Where you went to Guitar Center. That's it. That guitar, I got to have the guitar. It's the magic.
Mm-hmm.
Take it home. You change strings, and you kind of get it in tune and say, "I hate this guitar.
Yeah,
It's
systematically
the worst
ruin
guitar I
it.
ever played."
Yeah.
And it's like, duh. Guitars are creatures under tension.
Mm-hmm.
They're creatures under tension, counterbalancing tension.
Mm.
So I went on a mission to just explore the possibility of marrying that compensated compensated wraparound bridge that I loved so much, and just get rid of all the screws and saddles. Just get rid of them. Put that thing on a tremolo or on a telly, and just say, because if it works on a hardtail, why wouldn't it work? Just theoretically, right? And that's when I discovered what the disclaimer is in all of this, right? Because obviously somebody would have done that before if it were that obvious.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But that's when I discovered where the fly in the ointment was, in that in order, you have those photos up?
I'm in process of getting them presentable, so
Okay.
please continue.
Sure. Anyway, I got rid of. I'll just show this one for now. Got rid of all the. I don't know if you guys can see that, but all of the
Yeah, can see it. We can see it.
18 screws and the, all of that stuff, and figured out a way to modify this particular pre-compensated wraparound bar in such a way that it will marry gracefully to the existing fingerboard radius and so on and so forth. This is when I discovered the rub. There's a treble side adjustment and a bass side adjustment. Right? This particular telly has a top load bridge on it. Stevie's Esquire has a traditional through the body string load, but they work basically the same. When you get it in tune, it requires an adjustment range of plus or minus 5/1000ths of an inch, which is about half the thickness of a piece of paper. So, because what I've learned just in general is that once you dial in the ideal, everything else is tendencies. Like strings, and we talked about this too, that people keep chasing absolutes, right? Like my guitar has to be absolutely perfectly in tune. Theoretically, yes, but in practice, the best you're ever going to achieve is something that sounds pleasant no matter what chord shape you're playing.
Right.
That was what the intention of the tuning system was, to make to resolve the discrepancy between chord shapes. This does the same thing, but without having to move the nut and without having to do any other modifications to the guitar except adjust the bass side and treble side to a very specific location within half the thickness of a piece of paper. Once you do that, suddenly it's like the best day you ever had intonating. And it tunes intuitively. It's not fussy. If it goes out of tune, it still sounds good.
And the other problem with a real hardware intensive thing like the stock tailpiece is that if you're one of these people like me I don't have time for this. I'm gonna go give it to my guy who sets up my guitars and tweaks them and let him work all that out. What am I going to get back? I'm going to get back his idea of the right compromise he arrived at. That this is pretty much what everybody does and how everybody sets this stuff.
Right.
So that's going to be his approximation, and I'm going to get it, and I'm going to go, okay, I've got what somebody else has decided based on empirical evidence and all this kind of stuff. What everybody sort of thinks is the right way to do it, but every person doesn't believe that that's the right thing, because their idea of what's right is going to be a few degrees different than the other person. So nobody really has got the right formula down. So what you end up doing is giving it to somebody to give it back to you, and you're still going, all right, well, this might have worked for him, but it's still not working for me.
Right.
Because you play the way you play.
Right. And that's
and
what I'm
you
trying
play
to...
different than the person who's setting your guitar up.
Right. So, if I have any value in all of this stuff,
So just
I try to be a bridge between the average player and the technology.
right.
So if I can make a guitar as problem-free as possible, as clear a vehicle to express yourself,
Right.
whatever that is,
Right.
as possible with as few interruptions.
Mm-hmm.
No stop signs.
Right.
No speed bumps. Where, oh no, I can't play that chord shape up there because it's out of tune.
Right.
To get rid of all that, so suddenly whole areas of the guitar open up. Whole combinations of chord shapes open up. Holy shit, this thing just sounds good. Wow, I'm going to try that. And
Yeah,
so
and try that is
it's
a key
inspiring.
thing. Because what it does is,
Yeah.
I always thought that I couldn't play that chord shape. No, it just didn't sound good to me, so I stopped trying to play it.
Right.
But once I played an instrument that I played that chord shape and it worked, and I'm like, oh, I do know how to play that. I've been trying for years to try to get that to sound good, and I never
Right.
could. But now all of a sudden, it just sounds good. What happened? That's what happened. It now does it. And
And-
why didn't it do it before? You could set all the bits and pieces, presumably, to do that, but still, it never gets
It's
there.
the same reason that the Les Paul Jr. or any of the guitars from the Golden Age, why people value them so much, is because they have that thing.
Mm-hmm.
They have that thing where the guitar is alive.
Right. Right.
And so that's the other aspect of the rap trim that I really wanted to focus on, was taking advantage of the rap portion of it. Not just the tuning part, where, your guitar play in tune, you could get little pieces of metal and stick them up into playing tune.
Right.
But to add that element of wraparound bar and replace the standard saddle, design with something that incorporates that wraparound bar, which just logically, if you expand the contact surface area of each string by that much, which is like some exponential number,
It really is.
suddenly, because those strings are just these little tiny things trying to vibrate.
Right.
So if you increase their contact area and multiply it by 6, suddenly you've got a significant increase in string vibration transmitted to the body.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that's really what it's about. The other thing is, when a string passes over a standard saddle, it's going like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the biggest diameters, you're typically around 1/4 of an inch, if that.
Mm-hmm.
On a wraparound bar, you're talking about 3/4 of an inch or more, with a more gentle radius.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening is that string is under tension, and that tension is being absorbed by that contact area. So by the time it gets to the witness point, the intonation point, it's softened up. Because that wrap has absorbed all that tension.
Right.
Is it possible also that because the string bending around the wrap is more gradual, that
Exactly.
the fulcrum is wider,
Exactly. That's
So-
exactly what it is.
so the string can actually bend and react to
Yeah. A
your-
perfect
your-
example. Yeah.
the way you grab strings
Yeah.
more naturally.
Like on the wrap trim or the wraparound design, wrap tail,
Yeah.
you can take the back part of the string on the wrap portion and wiggle it.
Mm-hmm.
This because it's absorbing all that tension. So
Mm-hmm.
by the time it gets to the intonation point, it's already softened up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why playing those, like people who will put those wraparounds on guitars that didn't come with in stock for
Right.
that particular quality.
Yeah.
Right.
The guitar I played at Woodstock with Butterfield Band
Yeah.
was a 335 with a wrap
Yeah.
wrap bridge.
Huh.
And I didn't do that. I found the guitar like that because they didn't come stock like that. They came,
yeah.
they came with a Tune-o-matic.
Mm-hmm.
But that guitar just had something different, you know.
That's bananas.
And I didn't understand at that point. I wasn't yet into all this.
I wasn't either, but the first time I played a gold top at a Guitar Center in Seattle, it was not really a Guitar Center, it was sort of a franchise, but it was a store in Seattle called Guitar Center. It was loosely related to Guitar Center in Los Angeles. And they had a bunch of Gibsons in there, and there was a used gold top, and there was a new one, and the new one had a Tune-o-matic, and I played that, and then I picked up the gold top, and I'm like, oh yeah, this one hasn't got as good of a bridge on it, but what the hell, and I played it E chord, and I'm like, okay, all right, I've got like 5 things I can bring in to trade for this, you know,
Interesting.
and I just hauled ass to have that, and I've had a gold top with the stop tailpiece ever since, and I've taken more abuse from, oh, you know, you just put a Tune-o-matic on that and it'll be blah, blah, blah. No,
Right.
no, you're wrong.
Right.
I don't know why,
Uh-uh.
but you're absolutely wrong. Period.
So let's be clear going forward, because we're talking about it, but we haven't defined what it is. It is a product. You have made it, and it is called the Wrap Tail. But
Or
are
the
there
Wrap
2
Trim.
iterations?
There's 2 iterations. The tremolo version is called the Wrap Trim. The hardtail version, the telly version, is called the Wrap Tail.
Great. Can one of you
No,
hold on? I'm going to show the pictures
Okay.
now of Steve's
Oh, okay. All right.
Esquire. So we're going to have a before and after. So you can kind of see it's like a drop-in situation.
And I've been really uptight about letting people. I let Bruce work on it because he just basically took the shoulders off of the neck a little bit, which made it a lot nicer to play. But this was like throwing caution to the wind, saying, "Okay, let's try it on this." But I had to find out.
So this was what you had going
there's
before.
6 saddles,
Right.
and that means there's 12 screws supporting the saddles, and then there's another 6 screws.
So
So there's 18 screws on that thing just to adjust the saddles and the height.
Look, a special delivery. Cheers. Thank you. Yeah, because each one of those saddles is suspended on these tiny ass little screws, these
Right.
little legs.
And the
these
minute
little
you
wobbly
jack
legs.
up the saddle, it's not even resting on the whole bottom of the set screw. It's
Right.
resting on a tiny tip of the set screw.
Right, and this isn't like an original tailpiece. This is the one that's got the beefy saddles with the screws that have a longer hole, so
Longer,
there's more thread.
Right.
And it didn't fix anything about it.
No.
It's not any better than a stock telly tailpiece. Why doesn't it have a stock telly tailpiece? Because I had a tailpiece that somebody handed me for free, and that's what this guitar was originally all about. It was just a junk box guitar.
Yeah.
And then it went from 18 screws to 6.
No. Well, yeah.
But
Essentially,
of those 6,
only
the 2 of them you
only 2, yeah.
actually ever really need to
Yeah.
adjust.
I mean, we don't, because we're not. I can't really. I mean, I suppose I could. Kind of. I want Joe to play. First of all,
Yeah.
Before I even go any further, so if you can take that amp off standby.
Let me see if I can get it to focus on.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what? I'm doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So we want to see how. Wow.
Yeah, it's
See,
the
it's full
tailpiece is
contact.
sitting right on the plate, sitting right on the guitar,
Right.
and a significantly greater amount of energy on the string is exciting the body of the guitar than it did before, and that's
Right.
just something that you immediately.
Yeah, I can also, if you
Pick
want,
up
I
on.
can kind of show this
Oh yeah.
this aspect of it too. So you
So
can
that's the
kinda
wrap
see-
trim.
That's
Right.
the wrap trim, right. So these 2 screws, these 2 screws here, here and here, those are the fine adjustment for the intonation. And then there are 2 screws on the sides here that are little hold down bolts that snug the wrap trem up to the trem plate.
And that's what ensures that the energy
Yeah.
gets transferred to the bottom.
Yeah, correct.
Oh, somebody already turned the amp. Good. All right. I think I turned your volume pedal down too, just in
That
case,
was a
because there was
smart
a little
thing to
noise
do,
coming in.
Steve.
I
Being the highly technical guy you
Just-
are.
I did a bunch of last minute stuff. We have a different rig that we're using to run the show out of now.
Every single time we ever do this.
Yeah, and well, from the last show we started doing this, and that eliminated the dropouts. We did have a little problem at the beginning of last show, which was the echo cancellation in the software, the streaming software. So that was just a switch position, which we took care of this time. But when Buzz said that he would come down and be on the show, okay, we actually have to make this so that we can play through it. So we sort of jumped the gun a little bit and sort of hurriedly threw the thing together in the last minute. But
So you can play Kashmir.
I just started playing that because I couldn't stop playing the damn guitar. I spent an hour that I should have been spending setting up the setup, just goofing off and having a good time. So that's on me. But
So I have to say, when I first walked in, Steve handed me his Esquire and with the wrap trem. And I know that guitar pretty well because we played it a lot on this show. And that's the first chord I normally bang on a guitar. And immediately I was off and away playing, and then I stopped myself and I went, wait a minute. Every single time I picked up your guitar to play that chord, I hit it and I'm immediately just trying to get this thing to work. But I played that guitar for 10 minutes, which is unheard of, and I didn't touch the tuners once. Which, that's a great guitar, but I've never done that. I'm always fiddling with the tuners on that thing.
well, you play one way and I play another way, and I set up the guitar, tune the way I tune it. You pick it up and you go, and then now you're sounding good. You give it back to me, and it's like, oh God, and I have to go back. It's the first time we both played the same guitar and didn't do any of that.
That's
we
true.
Just played effing music.
And I remember playing this. Remember I stopped and I went, that never works. And then I played this. And I went, that never works.
Playing the higher registers with an open string against it. Yeah.
Yeah, with
And-
two. And
yeah.
it was on that guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, knock that out. Shh, don't tell you. So... I had no idea you were going to put this on a trem. Steve mentioned it to me, and I thought maybe I
I
heard
started
that wrong.
on a trem. I did the trem first.
But I kept thinking I probably heard him wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't have anything that I could, because everything I have right now, other than the Les Paul, is like this kind of trem. And now
Yeah.
I'm going, oh.
Did you mention that that's a $150 Squire?
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody
Yeah.
can see
Well,
that.
see, that's the thing. What he brought over, I'm going to bring some guitar over to show you, and I thought he's going to bring me these esoteric things. He's like, this is off the shelf Squire with this bridge on it, and I have my relic,
Yeah.
which is like everybody picks up the car, they go, "Ugh, ah."
That's an amazing
Right,
guitar.
right.
Yeah.
It smoked it. That thing smoked it. I'm like going.
that out.
He says this is gonna waste your relic, and I went, yeah, no way. And I picked up the relic and I put it right back down on the stand because I was like, to be honest, I didn't want to keep playing it because I didn't want to admit how right you were. I was pissed. I was a little pissed.
Well,
because now
so-
I'm thinking I got to do that to that guitar, and I don't really want to, but
Yeah.
now I
didn't-
can't. I have to.
Yeah. Well, you can do the same thing. It's reversible.
Yeah.
You know, just
Well, that's
replace
the
the whole
beauty.
thing.
That's
right.
the beauty of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is it,
So I can say this now because it all turned out happily ever after. Steve called me today, and he was talking about his Esquire. He was saying, ever since I got this thing done, like I can't get anything else done. I just keep playing the guitar. And you said, you can come in here and you can tell me that I am on the
full of
Kool-Aid.
shit. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Like I kind of need you to do that.
Yeah.
Because maybe I'm full of it. And then I told you what happened. I came in and we had to get down to putting the show together. But I just kept playing your guitar without touching the tuners and just, you know.
Well, the very first thing you did when you played the first chord you did is you went, whoa, indicating that you know the guitar well enough to know that it had gone through a monumental change that doesn't seem like anything really changed to justify that big of a reaction out of you.
Well, yeah.
Because it was the same thing, only, I don't know, more of it?
Well, what it's doing is it's getting rid of all those little drains on tone.
Yeah.
Which all those 18 screws, each one is wobbling in the threads, each one has a spring on or something, and it's sucking the string vibration.
Right.
It's not allowing, it's not as efficient a way to transmit string vibration to the trem plate, hence to the body.
Right.
You know, that's just simple. That's
Right.
just physics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the more instability you have,
Mhm.
the more wobbly stuff, the less string vibration is going to get transferred to the body. So that's why it can transform a Squire into something like holy mackerel.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
wow. Because
Right.
it's not a bad guitar. I mean, it's made out of really cheap materials, so it's not the materials.
Mm-hmm.
It's the design.
Mhm.
It's the efficiency with which the wrap trem or wrap tail transmits string vibration to the guitar.
So, how much? Because I think most people are going to see this and go, "Oh, it's got your name on it. This is all about the tuning."
Well, first of all, a little disclaimer: this is not available yet. This is not commercial. You can't go to Guitar Center and buy it, or anywhere yet.
this is hot off the
but,
press.
But it's. I thought it would be worthwhile to give Stevie's viewers and you guys sort of an advanced preview, because we are brothers from another mother. We're constantly pushing the envelope with stuff, and I know
Absolutely.
Stevie's doing it with the amps, which are fantastic. The new amplifier stuff is just, you know, and we were talking about this yesterday. What you buy when you buy one of Stevie's products is not just the stuff. It's the 50 years of knowing what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 50 years of knowing which direction is going to give you that.
Yeah,
Wonderful,
you pick up a
magical
guitar, you
thing.
put it on your bench and go,
Yeah.
this needs to go, that needs to go, that needs to go, this is a waste of time, and this isn't going to get me anywhere, and it's going to cost the customer money, and it's going to be wasted money, and we're not going to do that. And then we're going to do it this way, and all the people out there that hang out on the forums too much are going to say, why didn't you use ceramic this or non-PCB that, or blah, 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 blah. And the answer is, that doesn't get us where we want to go.
Right.
And if it doesn't get us where we want to go, it isn't going to be part of the recipe. The other part of it is I just love listening to you play. Everything you play is just magical. It's always that way.
So this has nothing to do with what we're talking about. What would you say the differences, some of the main differences are between the player you are today and the kid you were at Woodstock?
Well,
Because you changed a lot.
I don't know.
Or you grew a lot.
Well, I think part of it is just, I had some opportunities that forced me to grow as a player, That was the first thing. I had to, because I had to learn stuff that I didn't know how to do. So,
So did you start off as, I'm a blues guy,
yes.
and we're playing shuffles, and we're playing the blues. And then how did you go from...
And he was a skinny towhead kid on the stage with these older guys,
Still is.
and he's tearing it up.
Yeah.
And you're looking at him going, no, what is? Where's that coming from?
Yeah, but you went from that guy to playing on all these heavy sessions.
But when you listen to that,
See now,
when you listen to that, it becomes immediately apparent where the drive to do all these things on guitar that you've done came from, because you can't do that effectively with all those roadblocks in your way.
right, right, because there's no way I could do, like, for instance, that.
Yeah, that's all nasty up there.
It's ugly.
The guitar's not
like,
cooperating.
or,
Hey Buzz, when I buy Steve's stuff, all I get is sweet tone and a big middle finger from him.
yeah, that doesn't go,
Oh, well, yeah.
or that.
See, when you handed me that to play, I was so involved in how it felt that it didn't even occur to me to grab the bar.
Yeah, that's the whole beauty of it, And those are usually problematic.
You can,
One, at least of those is going to be out of tune.
if you got a half an ear, you can hear that you should be hearing, under normal circumstances, I would be hearing the little,
Yeah,
of course.
the little ugly shit.
yeah.
And it's out of tune a little bit.
But see, the beauty of that is that I never play perfectly in tune. I never perfectly tune guitars. And
To get those three,
And
the
it
test, the test for if a guitar is going to work
5,
for
4,
me
1.
are these three chords.
Just those little triad things. Those little spread triad things. Always problematic.
And what you were saying about just the sort of relativity of playing in tune
Yeah.
is that it doesn't demand that the tuning keys be perfectly set in tune, because
No.
everything is just the adjacent notes are relatively close
Right.
enough to each other that it doesn't demand that you focus all this attention on the tuning gears.
Right, and this is where I had a huge breakthrough with this, that because I kept chasing absolutes. I was chasing absolutes. Right?
You've been doing that for a long
I
time.
know.
That
And-
was
and
the
then I
tuning
realized-
system, right?
Yeah, with the tuning system. By the way, quick story. I got a guitar technically perfectly in tune. Perfect.
You did?
Everything, every note, every fret.
When did that happen?
It was the worst sounding guitar I have ever heard in my life.
Interesting.
But it read perfect on the tuner everywhere. It was god awful. It was brittle. It had no bottom end. It was horrible. That's what led me to the tuning system, because I achieved perfection and it really sucked.
Wow.
Bad. And the reason, and the piano tuner explained it to me, he says phase canceling. When pitches get that close, they phase cancel.
Wow.
All the bottom end drops out of everything.
Right.
Right. So that's why, that's like, the tuning system came from that, is to find the pitch offsets, just like piano tuners do, so open up those vibrations so they're not phase canceling.
And if you watch a
And
piano
that's what
tuner work,
tempered
he
tuning
sits there
is.
Right.
he sits there on a piano all day with a tuner and tunes all the strings, and that's the first quarter of the job. And the rest of the time, he's hitting the note and playing triads and dyads and doing this, and
Right.
doing this, and doing this.
And listening
And
for
he's not
beats.
looking at the tuner anymore.
No.
He's going, it feels right now.
Yeah.
It.
Yeah.
No, I'm hating it. No, I'm hating it. Ah, there,
Yeah.
there. Okay,
Right.
now I got to check it against
Right.
adjacent chords.
And on guitars, the reason for that is because each string behaves differently. Each string, because of its diameter and its,
Just
and
like
its
on a
pitch,
piano.
That makes sense.
behaves differently.
And
Right.
these magnets are different heights, so it's going to talk to the
All of
string
that,
differently,
but,
right?
But most importantly, because of the string diameter and the pitch that it's tuned to,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to behave differently. So what we're looking for with, like, for instance, this particular system
Mm-hmm.
is find the optimum location so that all the tendencies agree. Like,
Yeah.
like the strings that need to tend sharp, which are specifically the A and D, low E, A and D need to tend sharp.
Interesting.
Tend. I don't mean play sharp. They
Right.
need to tend sharp, because you can be in tune. You can tune an A string to a high E, for instance, and be in tune. You say that's it. But there's a range in there
Right.
that you're not
We
aware
all-
of, because piano tuners learned 300 years ago that you can borrow pitch from a fifth, fourth, or an octave. Perfect intervals, there's a range from which you can borrow a certain amount of pitch, right? And the same thing with guitars. That's why people say, I don't get it, my guitar's reading in tune. It's why is it out of tune? It's because the bass strings are not tending sharp. The B and G are not tending flat. You know, it's tendencies. It's tendencies.
Even if I use a tuner, very first thing I
Nobody goes by a tuner. A
Yeah.
good player with
do,
experience,
yes.
first
Every
thing
time
they
I
do,
go
they
with
take
the
it off
tuner,
the
I
tuner
tune
and
it
they
with the
change
tuner,
it.
Right,
and then
exactly.
I flat the E
Yeah.
string, and I flat the G a little bit.
There you go.
You're doing your tendency
Right.
work.
Yeah.
Right. So that particular pattern, this intonation pattern here, embodies the art of tuning. Tuning is not a science; it's an art. And that particular pattern, once it's set to that plus or minus 5 thousandths on each side, embodies the art of intonation. Because it's not a science; it's an art. And so once you get it there, it can go out of tune, which it will, you know, like every other guitar.
Yeah.
But it's still because the tendencies are corrected. The bass strings are tending to play sharp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because let me give you just
And why is it going to get out of tune? Because when you're playing at a gig, the temperature of the instrument
Everything,
in the
yeah.
room
You're
will
yanking
change.
on the strings, they're stretching,
Right.
wood's expanding, contracting, like you said.
you know.
Yeah, that always sucks. Or, as we all know, when you play that
10th, yeah, that's 6.
when you do that, we're always
yeah,
to get that right, right?
that's everybody hear that? The 7th fret harmonic agrees with high E. That 10th is in tune. Right? Right? All those sound pleasant because the A and the D are tending sharp. Not that they are sharp, like sounds in tune to me, right?
Absolutely.
But listen to it carefully.
Oh yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
That the A string is tending to play a little sharp.
Right.
I could tune it ever so slightly or intonate it ever so slightly flatter, and then this is no longer going to work. Right? That tenth is no longer going to work if I flatten that A even a little bit.
Okay, I gotta straighten Brendan out a little bit. He says, so my tuner is lying to me. No. Your tuner is telling you exactly what is happening on the strings that you're specifically referencing to the tuner. Fine. And that all goes out the window right after you play one fret off of the nut. As you start playing up, the tuner becomes progressively more irrelevant.
Yeah, can I address something to Brennan also?
Sure.
Yeah. Your tuner's not lying to you. It's just that the degree of precision necessary to really have a guitar play a tune is finer than we thought it was. It's tighter than we thought it was.
Okay.
Those strings have to be more accurately tuned, more accurately intonated than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
And this, I only discovered this through many hundreds of hours of pain. You know, this is not like some theory I had. You know, this is just no, that's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it.
Pure
And
trial
it's
and
like with
error.
him,
Yeah.
with components on a circuit board.
Yeah.
No, that cap's wrong. That
Right.
resistor's wrong. Until he gets it, that's the one, and it's not the one before it or the one after it.
And it's not because you found that resistor. Oh, we're always going to use this resistor from this brand and this diameter and this shape. No, it's you. Once you find the part that works, then you can understand what it is about that part that is working,
Right.
and engineer around it
Right.
so that it never not works.
Right. And Brandon, to just answer your question, you can look at that tuner, but the tuner is not necessarily going to give you the degree of resolution necessary
Right.
to get it really sweet.
Yeah,
So
I know.
that's
I know
wrong.
you're fucking with this, and I know that it's all good natured, and we're not taking it personally. So feel free to throw.
You can
to
tell
throw
us
the
we're full of shit.
Yeah.
You can tell me I'm full of shit.
Yeah,
anytime.
that's why we're here. But yeah, this is what I find all the time is that you don't. The problem in guitar design and instrument design and amp design and speaker design is when you're trying to get a concept out to people that have all this dogma that they're living with that's been laid on them year after year, player after player. It's got to be Celestians, it's got to be EO34s, it's got to be the X pattern, it's got to be this, it's got to be that. It's never any of that. Those are all the things that get piled onto your consciousness that you're trying to get past so that you can make music and be inspired to make more music.
Right.
And you have to get off of all that. And it takes somebody like you that's really understanding in this particular side, me working on the shit that I work on, you focusing on the stuff that you focus on, is it's okay to flush all the dogma. Now, it's not to say that any of those things that people think makes things sound good isn't true. It just means it isn't the rule.
No, of course
That's a
not.
great way of putting it.
It is, yeah.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of both you guys as being guys who went, yeah, but wait a minute. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
No,
I
we're
know,
not done
but-
with this.
right.
We're not done with this.
Yeah, but
You know?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm wondering, is there a possibility, like, the guitar that I play the most with this type of trem is a 6-screw.
yeah.
How will there be a version where there's room up here where these screws are to put this on?
Oh, you have the 6-screw type, not the fulcrum
Exactly,
type?
yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's not related to this.
Oh,
See, this is
okay.
another
Right.
dogma
Right.
that you're crashing right now.
Right.
Is that it's it's the 6 screws, and that's why the thing doesn't exactly
not
tune
true.
and blah blah blah.
Not true.
And
By the way, when a 6-screw standard vintage style tremolo is set up correctly, it works just as well as a 2-post. It really does.
yeah, that's what you told me the other day. And I went,
and
okay.
People say, "Oh no, you got to
Makes
get rid of that.
perfect
You got to
sense.
use a modern fulcrum." No, you can. A 6 screws fine. Most people don't understand that you can't screw the screw all the way. Those 6 screws all the
Right.
way down. You have to give it room to do its thing. You know.
Right.
So once you do that, it works just fine. If
And
it's set up
you're,
properly.
you're introducing a little play so the thing can find its the fulcrum can find its correct resting place.
Right, which is usually the reason it's flat underneath the head of the screw is so that trem plate can butt up against it because there's a bevel on the front
Right,
edge of it. So when you do that, it tilts up until the bevel hits the wood, right? But when it's set up like that, it works just fine.
That's right.
Because the trem plate finds its home on the screws.
You can't even put it up like totally snug.
No,
No.
You know,
it
like,
has to
okay,
be
that's
a little
proper.
loose.
Yeah,
A
exactly,
little loose,
yeah.
right? You got to give a little
Right.
relief. So, but once you do
And
that,
once you do that, then you're up against the problem of you assign the problem with tuning. You assign it to that
right. Well,
fulcrum
that's my
issue.
problem. Right. It's not. It's unrelated. The wrap trim works, equally well on a vintage style or because it's an unrelated
Yeah,
issue.
that's what I heard from you the other day that made me go, that makes so much sense, because otherwise it would have been an obsolete design that everybody stopped using a long time ago.
Right.
If that was always the problem.
Yeah, it's never the problem.
It's never the problem.
So I want to know, when you're describing going through hundreds of hours of pain,
Yeah.
what did that look like? Like, what is working on this problem like? What are you doing?
There are, if you come to my shop, Steve's been to my shop, there are sheets of paper taped with blue tape to my wall with caliper settings, hundreds and hundreds of caliper settings. That represents pain. That's the pain of finding a whole intonation scheme. Oh fuck, that doesn't work.
Wow.
Let me refine it a little. Let me measure the tilt of each saddle. How do
Okay.
you do that? You know what I'm
I don't
saying?
know.
So that's the pain involved. It's like going through that, and suddenly it was so painful that I had to admit defeat, which is not easy for me.
Yeah.
But I had to admit defeat. I said, I can't do this. I can't do it. It's too complicated. Because the minute you change anything, and I mean anything, I could show you on this, but I won't. If you pull that string slightly to the left or to the right on the saddle, I mean, so imperceptibly,
yeah,
where
yeah.
you can't even measure it. If you just like scoot it over like a less than a millimeter, complete out of tune, wildly weird tension.
That's interesting.
Because you don't realize it, but any change in the tension on these strings, any change is going to result in out of tune and different feel and all of it. So that's
that
why
makes
this
sense
is
to
such
me.
a beautiful design, because it eliminates the variables. It eliminates the variables. And the radius is set, it's sort of to an optimum pattern, so that the guitar, so the treble strings bend easily, the bass strings don't have too much tension, et cetera, et cetera.
Now this is a revelation
Is there
that occurred to me today.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question, since we're just on
Yeah.
this, the radius. Is there such a thing, 'cause I don't know about this, where you would have versions of this for, the vintage radius?
Sure.
So there's a 12-inch version.
Well,
There's
there
a
is
9.5.
yeah, sure.
I just
you
love
can
this
do
because
that.
you're pitching all the questions to him that I pitched when
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
when I
Yeah,
first thought.
that's absolutely true. However, there is sort of an optimum radius, which is
Okay.
pretty middle of the road, which like 95% of the guitars out there have, which is kind of between a 9.5 and a 12.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, sometimes tending towards 14, depending, So these things can be adjusted. That I've made much flatter radiuses versions of this, which have their own characteristics,
Right.
their own feel, and so on. But I found that pretty much the standard, really middle of the road radius, which like every Strat in the world has, and most.
So you have a
So
lot
what
of
is this
leeway
one
in
right
that
now?
middle range.
What?
What is this one now? This
It's like a
basically-
12.
A 12. Oh, okay, great. I'm
It's
just
like-
asking because my favorite guitar is 12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a 12. I do make very subtle adjustments to the low E, in that I usually I deepen the saddle point slightly to accommodate the deeper radius, so that because the low E string is absorbs the most tension.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that has to be balanced. So one of the features of the Rap Trem is that it's tension balanced. On the Telly too, I do the same thing. So it's tension balanced, so that low E is not too stiff. So it's everything. That's why I put that 44 on your
Right.
Esquire, because otherwise the 46 sucks up a little too much.
Yeah, so I'd like to thrash on my strings. I dig in, and when he said, we went back and forth, and he said, "What do you use?" I use 10s. He says, "Okay, I'll put 10s on it. Maybe about." And I said, "What about 9s?" He goes, "No, 9s is too much, but maybe you want to try 9.5." I said, "Okay, let's try 9.5." And then when he got it done, he says, "I put 10s on it," and I went, "Oh, okay." So he must have had a reason for that, but I wasn't in the mood to ask why at the moment. I was on my way somewhere, so I just went, okay, whatever you say.
I wanted you to have exactly what you had.
Yeah, and so when I got it
it.
back, the first thing I noticed is that everything felt like I didn't have my calipers. I almost got if I'd have had my calipers, I would have measured it, because did he say that he put 10s on it, but just the E string was the thinner one? Or did he say he put 9.5? I don't remember, because we talked about so many things. So I started playing it, and I realized that everything just felt so silky that measuring it would have just confused me even more if I'd have measured the strings. Wait a minute, the strings are all right except the E string, which is thinner than I'm used to. But the other thing is, I'm not digging into the guitar. The 44, I was thinking it might not have the low end thump that it would normally have, but what happened was it did have the low end thump, and I had to hit the string less hard to get it to do that. And then overall, the lower end of the lower registers of the guitar sounded more balanced that way. So I went, I'm going to adjust my picking technique.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because here's what happens.
Because I don't have to beat it out of the guitar anymore.
One of the things that, and again, I noticed it on the Esquire, on your Esquire, and it relates to how sensitive all this is. I moved your low E string inboard ever so slightly, like almost an immeasurable amount, because I noticed that when I had a hunch, and because I've experienced this with Tellys before, and like that black Telly, that one, if you notice, I can show your audience, maybe you understand. The strings exit the, they exit the string loading holes,
Right.
and then they go slightly inward.
see it.
You can see it, right? They go slightly inward, which to me is the perfect spacing.
Right.
But what it does is it lights up the whole guitar. Like when you put them straight, just have them resting on the saddles, coming dead straight out of the holes. It doesn't have the same life, and I noticed that on the Esquire, that when I moved that low E only
So only the low E.
in a little bit, suddenly it excited the rest of the strings. It excited the rest of the strings. That's the only way I can put it.
Interesting.
It
Because you're playing the
excites
tension game again.
It makes the guitar resonate the way I want it to feel.
Well, here's what's tripping me out too. When you're talking about it being tension balanced,
Right.
a guitar with a trem, you're going to have a lot more luck keeping the trem in tune, because that's the whole deal.
Right.
Is the whole tension issue
Exactly.
is thrown off.
Yeah.
So
So you were talking about the compensation of that bridge being right, and I thought, well, this is one of those compensated bridges. It's just sort of blended into the profile of the top of the
And it's also
wraparound,
at a wild angle on top of it.
right? To supposedly
Fix the tune.
fix that.
Yeah.
But the one thing that this doesn't have, and the only thing that's really wrong with this guitar the way it's set up now,
Mm-hmm.
which makes me think I should probably go to that compensated one
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
the G string is the one that's really
It's
overcompensated
not just
for.
the G, bro.
But that's the biggest.
Yeah.
That's the one that moves the
If
most.
you start chasing that, you're going to have a long day.
And that's why I talk to you.
Hundreds of hours of pain, my friend.
Yeah.
If you start chasing the tuning with this design, you're in for a long day.
You know,
and I'm
looking-
just thinking this is so close that
If it is, no, don't, look, I will never raid on anybody's parade, man. If it's like working, bro, it's working.
right.
Don't change it. Because I have people coming to me, how can I improve this? I love it. If you love it, don't change it.
yeah.
Just don't change it. Just play it. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Go with God. You know, but
Yeah,
otherwise, you know,
I get it all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just got my new amp, and
Right,
and
I love it.
And I ordered
How
a set
can
of
I change it?
aftermarket tubes for it to give
Yeah.
it that extra what? Extra what? Give it that extra what?
Right.
Well,
The thing, man.
online
thing
it says
that
that this
I don't
this
know
set is
yet.
specially selected for Fryette amps from this other supplier,
Right.
and okay, wow, I'm thinking, what did that supplier? How
Tell
did they
you.
arrive at the specially
Right.
selected set that trumps the specially selected set that was put in there at the factory?
because you spent 50 years finding the special set, you know.
And the answer is it must be something extra special about it because they cost more, and you're using those less expensive tubes, and I'm like,
You know,
it's
like,
not about trying to find the most expensive part. It's about finding the right part.
But then there's people who journey with an end in mind, and there's people who journey with the journey in mind. Like, I just want to change shit because it's fun and it gives me something to talk about with my buddies, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But there's the guys that do that. There's the people that get on that path. And the thing that the painful thing that you're talking about is often, and we've seen this so many times. I just couldn't get that 45 112 combo the way I wanted it. So I finally just threw up my hands and I sold it. The guy that buys it says, I know this thing doesn't come with a vintage 30 and all JJ preamp tubes. Could I send it to you
Non-stop
and like
crap in
have
there."
you look at it? And so they send it here. This is the best amp I've ever heard, but it's still got some things wrong with it. Can I send it to you? They send it. We take out the vintage 30, put the stock speaker in, put all the stock tubes back in, the stock by setting, send it. You guys are fucking genius.
Yeah.
Unbelievable
Yeah.
what you did. I thought it was the greatest thing and now it's even better. How
But
did
then,
that
like
happen?
Chris is saying, then it does the haunting mids.
The haunting mids. Well,
Haunting mids.
we all live for that, right?
Magic Matt says
I
he'd
miss
just like to
those
say that
haunting
your
mids.
solo on Driftin' at Woodstock is one of the best guitar solos of all time.
Oh, please, man.
I hope you got compensated well, buddy.
I am not worthy.
I'm looking here.
The best guitar solo of all time. Eric Clapton and Have You Heard? The Beano record.
Uh-huh.
And that's
it for
that's
you.
why I play guitar. Because of that solo on Have You Heard, that was it for me. That was what playing guitar is all about. Clapton's solo on that record. Just from raw emotion, of raw, just fucking all in, man. You know, that's what made me want to play guitar. It's funny. So
One of
I
my
love-
favorite Clapton solos is the one on Fresh Cream. It's the Woman Blues, something Woman Blues. Down down bip, diddle-in, diddle-in, diddle-in. Outside Woman Blues.
Right.
On the solo, it follows the 1-4-5, and at the end of the 5 of the second verse of the solo, it does this. That's the end of the solo. It's just so concise and perfect, and not overshot, not anything. It
tells a story.
It
That's
just tells
kind
a
of
story,
the
and
freaky thing about his playing overall. I
it
always feel.
lands and stops in the perfect spot. It doesn't need any more. Didn't need a slide down off the string.
Yeah,
Stops. And then and then the verse comes in, and it's just like, I have to play it over again. I have to play it over and
Note it
over and
reminds
over
me.
again just to hear that again, that end.
It embodies Aristotle's idea of
Ooh,
Wait a minute.
whoa!
of virtue.
You can put an eye out with that. Man.
Like his playing is very much like that. It doesn't go to extremes.
Yeah,
It
Right.
walks this middle point,
hmm
right?
yeah,
It's like the economy, but it's still exciting.
yeah.
You know,
Uh-huh.
like everybody talks about, well, your slow hand or whatever, but it's like he uses
It
those little
wasn't-
bits and pieces just enough to make it
Right.
exciting.
Yeah.
But it's never too much, and it's never like, yeah, that was just a snoozer.
Right. Wasn't too much. Yeah, you could have stopped right there. It would have been fine. But you had to go to look. No, that didn't happen on those
Yeah.
early records.
I'm tripping out looking at this thing because I see where you pull. I didn't know that stuff was ever intentional. I do it when I change my strings on my guitars. I'm like, nope, that goes there.
When you don't
every
have a
single
saddle
time.
that registers the location.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, you did that. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's such an elegantly simple idea, and the way it works is stupid, and it's just like all the aftermarket bridges that are out there. I look at that and I see all those other things, and I go, just that the simplicity and the elegance of that just made all that other shit so obsolete that this can't get out and available to people soon enough.
You know, it's funny, man. You know, I'm like any other player. You know, and I think you are too. You know, like I think that's where we get along because you know where your cutoff point is when you switch into player mode.
Right.
And there's a hard line, man. That's a hard line. You don't slop over into, you don't bring technical into playing. Technical
Well, you
is
do, but
technical,
at your peril,
Right.
yeah.
Technical is technical. Playing is playing. So when you're in your playing mode, you know, it has to just be there with no.
That's
Technical
why you fall into
considerations.
technical mode,
Right.
because you got driven out of player mode by this
There you
roadblock.
go.
That's
There you
great.
go. So
You
the
know-
whole pursuit here has been to take away the impediments to expressing yourself.
Right.
Because, you know, we're channels. You know, we're channels for whatever
Mm-hmm.
is coming through us to express musically. And the more we can get ourselves out of the way and get
Yeah.
our worries and concerns and shit and tripping
Oh,
on one
man,
thing or
it's
the other,
just so
the more we
great
can get
to
out
hear
of the
you say
way,
that
then
stuff,
something
because
great can happen.
But you don't like
It's so
having to
true.
retune this every time you try?
No. Play that.
See, the
I'd be
high
a little
E
bit-
string sounds
yeah.
a little flat to me, but I like it.
Yeah.
It's not bugging. It's not bugging me. I just hear it and I go, oh, that's a little out of tune, but
Yeah, you can turn it up.
I could care less.
And I'm not yanking it like it's staying. Thank you very damn much. Because now I know it's, wait, what did you say? It's tension balanced.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
there
it's
you
you're not doing the Hendrix tuning while playing bit.
Oh man, yeah, it's a constant fight. So there's like a washer here.
Yeah,
Not there.
that was operator error on my
Oh,
part.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
This is a prototype, so
Got it.
it's not the prettiest, that particular one.
Man, I'm real excited for these things to hit.
Oh.
I gotta get to gotta. Man.
It's really funny that that all this just sort of the reconnecting and the checking this thing out and all this just transpired at the time when we're like, you know, there's always stuff to talk about, but when there's something to talk about that really makes a dent in the art of playing like that, that's way cool. I don't know. I'm sorry I'm gushing. I'm trying not to oversell it. I could just as easily let these guys shoot the shit for the next hour and just take my guitar in the other room and just play, because it's just so much fun. I'll learn how to play it. See, once the camera's on me, then I start getting a little
red light fever.
Yeah, I do, and then I forget where I am, and every other time. I mean, I must have written 5 songs today, just off the top of my head, when Paige Hamilton came over to the shop and he played the new Ultra Lead prototype. He wrote a song right off the bat, and I experienced that same thing, that levity of like, here, I can go somewhere. I can go somewhere with this.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I went there, and I didn't get the Lucy with the football treatment.
Right. Yeah,
You know?
Exactly.
I was frankly just a similar thing happened with the Ether amp.
Yeah.
When you
Did
play
Buzz ever get a chance to play that?
I don't know. Actually, yeah, that's the amp that we played through.
Yeah, it's great. Great amp.
And I turned the tremolo on for a second.
Yeah,
You went, whoa, because it's tremoling up instead
Yeah.
of down.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that gets people, like the guy from Guitar Player Magazine stopped by the shop. I got 15 minutes. Here, check this out. Oh yeah, it sounds really good. Yeah, I'd like to check that out a little bit more one time, but I got to go. And I turned the tremolo switch on and I left the room. And I came back an hour and a half later. He was still there, and I went, "So, what do you think of the tremolo?" And he's like, "Huh? Holy shit!
I gotta go.
I totally blew a meeting." And he's like, checks his phone, and there's all these text messages. And he's like, "Ah!" And he races out the door.
Wow.
And I'm like,
He's like, no, I get to stay. I'm fired.
Joe, can you play a little bit more?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
so that's what, $150 guitar?
Yeah.
This is basically an $80 guitar. Oh, I was gonna go try to find the neck. You just don't know the neck. You go ahead and play. I'll be right back.
So what's your main guitar these days? These?
I have a Fender Blacktop.
What's that?
It was an offshore cheapo model they made for a while with 2 hookings.
Huh.
It's a telly. It's blacktop telly. But I modified it, put a go to 1088 trim on it with
Okay.
the wrap trim
Yeah.
and a couple of Tim Shaw Shawbuckers.
Huh. And do you, are they tappable?
I don't use a tap. I just use them in series.
Really? Huh.
And they're mother.
When you were talking on that video that Steve shot, you were talking about this, you showed this neck that you said was like a nothing neck.
Oh yeah, it was
Off.
from a guitar called the Assassin. It was called an Assassin. Man, it was one of those offshore something.
How did you
Like-
get the
like-
Assassin in your hands, first of all? Who
Well,
put that in your hands?
I was in a friend's music store and he had like these $79 guitars.
Okay.
And the Assassin was one of them.
You just kind of grabbed it?
So I just picked it up. I just liked the neck for some reason.
Yeah.
So I bought the guitar and ripped the neck off, and it ended up being on a guitar for 20 years.
So what guitar did you put that neck on?
The neck is no longer on anything.
But what was it on when you played it for 20
Oh, it was on a
years?
telly.
Oh, okay. And like a telly with regular telly
Regular-
pickup stuff?
It was
Like not
it was on a telly with a rear load bridge, a
Okay.
top load bridge like that.
But just 2 telly pickups. You didn't put buckers in there
No.
or anything. Oh, okay. Huh. And was that your main guitar for 20 years?
It was. I did a lot of records with that.
Wow.
Yeah, with the Assassin neck.
The Assassin.
This
So
is the
this is the
original neck that
original-
was on that.
There used to be a Strat.
Yeah.
This was, oh yeah,
So
sure
the
was.
3-bolt and it had
So
that.
this is the neck that was on there,
Yeah.
and you didn't like it because?
Well, it
Oh.
it
It's a 3.
Oh, it didn't
yeah,
fit
it was
in the neck pocket
it was,
very well.
It didn't fit in the neck pocket very
Oh.
well. So if I'd be playing a gig
Sloppy,
and it'd go way out of tune, and I
hate
would just
that.
like
Yeah.
do like this to
Yeah.
get it back.
I know.
So when you had to clobber people who were jumping on stage, you'd
Also, it was the finish was a little too thick,
Mhm.
and it was just a little too narrow. I like it a little wider.
Yeah.
And that one, I gave the guy that made that one. I gave him my junior to take the profile off of the neck
Yeah.
and use that as
He
a
aced
basis.
it. It's a great neck on that thing.
Yeah.
On the Esquire.
Yeah.
So wait a minute, this
It was originally the
this
three,
was a 3-bolt
a
because
three
it had
bolt,
that thing in
had
there.
that metal plate. He took it out and just put, Play-Doh in there or some stupid thing.
Oh,
I
we
mean,
gotta show everybody.
again, that wasn't a tone machine. That was a guitar that you
Look at that plug
basically
up there.
beat the audience
Yeah.
members
Or the,
with
what
just
was
for
it called?
fun and profit. Huh?
What was that adjustment thing called? What did they call that? It had a name, like a marketing name.
It was a neck tilt
You
thing.
know, the bullet truss rod, and the neck tilt.
Neck
thing.
tilt, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And all the neck
Yeah.
plates had a hole in them and a piece of metal in there.
Yeah, they tried to basically make the guitars so that they could throw them together
There
and
you
give
go.
the user adjustment to make it work right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's really
Yeah.
what. Let's
You go,
just
hey, if it
let's
sucks,
just
it's
do
your fault.
That's
we'll
usually-
transfer the the
Right,
final
that's-
QC to the
that-
end user.
Right. That's usually a function of when you make the body and neck, but hey, who's counting? Oh, thank you, sir.
So the Assassin was a well-made neck.
The Assassin had a great. You know what I liked about it? It had like a thick fingerboard. It was a 2-piece neck, maybe
Okay.
2-piece, but it had a thick fingerboard,
I just like that it said
and it had a
assassin
lot
on
of shoulder. It had a lot of shoulder.
Oh, okay.
And I
All right.
just like that, and it was pretty
Micro
wide.
tilt.
There you
There it
go.
is. Micro
Yes, the
tilt.
micro tilt. Yes.
Ah, micro
Very
tilt.
good.
There we go.
Steve, is this the serial number or something? And did you carve this in here?
Yeah, I did that. Those are the days when it was shortly after I'd gotten a guitar stolen at a gig, and then after that, I just started marking numbers in everything I owned.
Wow.
So, so Rob says I've been quiet because I'm working, but I'm enjoying the hell out of Buzz and Joe's playing.
Oh, hey, Rob.
No, that's cool.
and hey, everybody. We're just totally up our own butts here, but hello, everyone.
Let's see. Ardashir, you said you had a question for me,
The offset of that trust.
and
It's like, dude, we got to show this. Look
Nice.
at how uneven, like where the truss rod placement is on this
oh
thing.
yeah,
Interesting.
Wow.
everything about
That's-
that neck says bean counter, bean counters,
Yeah.
Wow.
designed by committee.
Or it's Friday. Let me go home. I don't care anymore. That's terrible.
Right. Or I just smoked up all my weed in the bathroom before I cut the truss rod.
Yeah,
channel.
I'm gonna get a Christmas bonus for this idea, man.
Man. All right.
Play something, man.
So
Don't just sit there.
don't just sit there.
Play something.
I want you to play.
No, bro.
Because you are the guest of
No.
honor.
No, I want to hear you play it.
What should I play? I'm taking requests.
Yeah.
Wrong tuning. Sorry, guys. I'm making fun of Steve. In case
Actually,
you
that's
missed
the
his
correct.
rendition.
Oh, it's not the. It's not.
Yeah, I don't have the drop. The drop. Yeah, I was playing. That shit is bananas to me.
Okay. When you were playing this, I want you to play this one and do that.
What, play that one?
Yeah, because everything is wrong about this guitar.
Can you feel what the difference in meat on the treble strings?
very much. Oh, now I'm really tripping out.
Yeah.
Because now I'm noticing stuff that I didn't before.
Yeah.
Like the low string has a lot more give. Wait, what's it called? Tension balanced. I gotta plug that in. All right, let me see that.
Yeah, baby.
All right.
And play the same riff you just played.
Which one?
It'll be a half step.
Play John the Fisherman by Primus. I need a six
It'll
string.
be a half step
Carl
down.
Thompson.
But-
Right? Oh. Yeah, that's right. What is that voicing? It's like there's a different voice on top at the end there. And then you play. No, that's not right. No. That's not right either. I'm playing it wrong. Right? That's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm abandoning that. Now you're not so
Are
funny
you
anymore.
abandoning
So
that
I'm like,
voicing?
yeah. Oh.
Now dig how easily that just dropped into the E string. Or into the E. Dig how easily that just dropped into E. Lord over.
Do you still have any of that?
I didn't adjust the pickup on this either. I didn't tweak the pickup height. You should probably do that. I just threw it in there.
It never occurred to
What
me
do you
that it
still-
needed anything done to it.
It could be higher a little bit.
Is this still a 68?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it sounds wonderful.
So
Sounds
yeah,
like
when
the
I first
telly
picked
from
it up,
heaven.
I remember I played. And now I'm out of tune. Yeah. And then I was playing.
Yeah. It's almost got like an early Fleetwood Mac vibe
Yeah.
going on.
it's like the tone that every Kelly player in the world would hope they would get.
It never used to do that little sort of built-in wah sound
Yeah.
thing. It just started doing that after you put that riff on. I mean, that when you hear somebody like really doing the telly right, it goes wah 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 wah.
Yeah.
It never did that before. Now it does.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. I know guys that have bought and sold 15 vintage tellies trying to find one that does that. And this guitar was never meant to be anything more than a hammer.
I was.
Something that I didn't care if it got thrown off the stage, stolen, broken. It was that was the purpose of that instrument when it first got made. Was I don't give a shit because I had a treasured guitar stolen from a gig.
Did you know what he was doing? Did you know about his punk days?
Yeah, oh, are you kidding me? The first time I met Stevie, I went over to his shop, and first of all, he rode his Harley into the shop.
I'm hungover.
He's hungover.
My hair is
all
sticking
complete
straight up in the
greasy
air.
fucking long
Was he
hair
late?
with a big ass pirate earring, and
Wait a minute.
a pirate earring playing through a high watt with a 4x cabinet, playing this Korean Les Paul, right? And it was the best fucking guitar sound I ever heard in my life. I said, I got to be friends with this guy because first of all, he's my fashion icon. That's right off the bat. You know, I want to be like him. And second of all,
You actually
I
did
wanna-
come to the
I
shop
wanna-
one time, and I was wrecked after a gig,
yeah.
and you went, "You look like a rock star. I want to look like you." And I'm like, I went and looked at the mirror. And I went, "You don't want to look like that. you're,
I know.
You're pulling
It's
my
like-
leg."
I knew that this guy was all in.
I want to look
But
like
good
I
or bad,
slept
he was
in the
all
gutter
in.
in front of the whiskey
Right.
overnight.
But you actually did do
Well,
that, right?
yeah, I did do
So
that.
anyway, I knew that he was a man after my own heart. With the pirate earring, the Harley, and the Korean Les Paul through a high watt with a 4x.
A Vester Les Paul.
Vester. I remember.
But it was
Vesters.
absolutely the tone from God.
It was.
And it was
it
so
had a little
bone-crushingly
thin-
loud on top of it. But I said, I want to do that.
It had a little thin maple veneer on the top, just paper thin maple veneer that made it look like a maple top. So it was basically a slightly more junior.
So I think this is funny. Then the sound levels, the SPL that he likes to push. He told me the story once about going to sit in. Like some guy asked him to come sit in, and he gets up on stage and plays. And then when he's done with the song, everybody in the band is mean mugging him. And he's kind of like, what? And the keyboard player goes, you think you're the only guy up here on stage? And Steve's telling me this story kind of going like, I don't know what their problem was. I'm like, oh, I know what their problem was. I've heard how loud you play. And it was this sit-in thing. And he's just like, fuck it, it's rock and roll.
Just dime the amp. And just
Oh,
go
I'm
for
sure.
I was actually trying to be a little bit. I thought I was being sane, but these guys were all like, "You think you're the only person?" And I'm like, "Really? Is that?" I just felt like, there's this sideman mentality.
It's a different
Yeah, it
culture.
is.
When
Right.
I got up there, it was like
It's a different thing.
when I started feeling that stuff going around. I thought, okay, well, first of all, where do I punch the clock?
Right.
There must be a time clock around here
Yeah.
because that's time clock mentality.
Yeah.
And that's like, well, you have to construct a space for the person next to you, and I'm like,
Very much.
No, I don't.
no, I don't.
Well, but then you don't
I'm
get to come back.
Yeah,
Not that you
wait a
wanted
minute.
to
No,
come
no,
back.
I'm not playing a political game. I'm doing what apparently when you invite somebody up, it's because, hey, I want you to come up and add what you do to our stew.
Right.
And that's everybody going, fuck you, that's too much salt. We didn't want that much salt. And like, wait a minute, but that's why I'm all about the salt. Well, it's just like, according to the union rules, page 17, paragraph 34, it says only 3/4 of a gram of salt. And you like put a whole pound in there. And so you're fired. And
Did you see what Brendan said?
no, Brendan?
Look at Brendan's comment.
Steve needed the power station right then. If I had it, I would have turned it off. I'll tell you right now. Because
That's the attitude.
what that place needed was to somebody to turn the switch off and go for it.
Yeah.
And when I got off stage, there were these two guys that just had these big shit-eating grins on their faces, and they were like, dude, we love your answer. We didn't really know you could play. That was like the best thing we heard in this club the whole night. Those guys can all go fuck themselves.
Oh,
And
that's
I just
funny.
Yeah.
I bought them a pitcher of beer,
Yeah.
sat down and drank with them for a
It's
minute.
like,
and
what do you mean dynamics? I'm playing as loud as I can.
I wasn't cut out for that.
No, I'm already playing as loud as I can.
I went and did.
So how?
I did a record date.
Yeah.
I was hired to play on a record, and they knew what I did, and they hired me, and I went and I did what I did, and the producer was looking at me like, this guy's got a lot of sharp shit that needs to be trimmed off of him, and he's like going about trying to show me the ropes and stuff, and I did a little thing later on in a few days into the session. I just did a little thing. I worked out a thing with the engineer to pull this guy's leg to get him to laugh a little bit.
Oh, I remember you telling me that.
And once I did that, he was like, "Oh, we do sort of have a relationship. I just didn't realize that we would have a relationship." And then when I found his button to push that made him just sort of get the big stick out of his ass, all of a sudden we were buds.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
And I was just going out of my way to find out, okay, I just gotta, it was like the Nicholson movie where he's the retired astronaut, and he's the next door neighbor is
Oh, yeah.
is it Shirley MacLaine?
Yeah.
And she's like a divorcee, and he's trying to date her, and she doesn't want to date, and she's like really uptight, and he takes her out, and he says, "You need a drink." "No, I don't." "Yeah, you do. You need a big drink." And she goes, "No, I don't really want to have a drink." He goes, "You need a drink." "Why do I need a drink?" "To kill that big bug up your ass." That was it. That was it. To me, it was just like, just go break all of this stiffness in the air, and so everybody can just sort of relax and go, let's play, let it come out.
But you've had a career moving back and forth between all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you started off more or less in a rockish context,
Oh, the
where you could let
blues
loose.
shit.
Yeah.
But
then
his kind of
you
letting
got-
loose was like doing things that other people didn't do, and that's why people would bring you on. They didn't bring you on there because we need a guy that plays just exactly like this other screwed down tight guy that we had last week. That's not what people would call you for.
No.
Hey, this guy Feiten, he came in our session and just like he turned everybody's eyelids inside out. Let's get him back here. I think that's what I saw. Every time I see you play, I see that, and I can just see a producer going, "Yeah, the air is really stiff in this room. We need somebody to just break up the clusters of molecules in here that are making it hard to make music. Let's get that guy." He would come in, and he comes into the shop I work at like the day before such a session, brings his amp and goes, "Let's change the gain here. Let's change the mid-range a little. Let's do this. Let's do that." And blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's perfect. He goes to the first day of the session. He comes back at the end of the day. "Take all that shit out."
Yeah.
Do you remember doing that?
Yeah. Look, I've tortured more people with.
But I understood.
obsessive
I didn't get
crap.
mad. I understood it.
But yeah, but see, he
He
understood
did that.
it.
I just did that yesterday. I set up the amp this whole way, and Joe's gonna love this. And then an hour later, I undid it and started all over again.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So you see, that's why we have a lot of tolerance. I think because it's like having a disabled child. Having a relationship, friendship with another musician, especially guitar player. It's like having a slightly slow disabled child, but that has ADD on top of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
But it's like-
you just got to roll with it, man. Whatever.
Well, you go, all right, Steve is not going to do what the rest of us are doing. So we're going to put him over in his
Right.
side of the room, and he's going to do something
Right.
great at some point. We don't know what it is.
yet.
We can't suggest to him
Right.
what it's going to be, but it'll be great.
Right.
Just leave him alone. Let him be.
Right.
And then we'll continue with this lesson over here.
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought this design to Stevie, because I said, okay, he's the only guy I know that's as crazy as I am. Like as far as going down a road
Yeah.
as far as you can take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why I brought it to him. I said, look, Stevie, I don't know. I think I stumbled on something. I don't know if I did, but maybe you can tell me. So I know he would be the guy that would be straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first you sent me, you called me, and then you sent me a link to your video,
Right.
and I watched that before you came over. And when I watched that, it wasn't to learn what you were doing.
Right.
It was to have every assumption that I had been harboring in the back of my head about what is essentially wrong with most of the guitars I've ever played explained to me in explicit, perfectly harmonious detail that landed on me like, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, there's an interesting thing about both of you guys, is that as obsessive as you both are, it sounds like you would always go to amp tech guys and like, I have an idea, you do it. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. And you're the same way with guitars. Like, I play guitar. No. You
Yeah,
do that thing for me.
exactly.
I'm not doing the guitar thing. I got the amp thing on lock. I'm not going down that hole.
That's just maybe it's the wisdom that comes with age. It's like
Wait a minute. He was wearing a
see that
pirate
door?
earring.
Yeah, see that? Yeah.
Don't give me that wisdom.
No, but it's like, see that door? Don't open it. don't go in that
Right,
room.
right.
And that's what it is, because I know if I go in that room, I'm not coming out for several years.
Hundreds of hours of pain.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Hey,
And I don't need double up on that. No, thank you.
Hey Shane, just an email to support@fryette.com. The impedance selector switch is in stock. It's replaceable. We have them. Just support@fryette.com. I need an impedance selector switch. Your address, phone number, and we'll get you one out.
Hi, Alyssa, if you're still there. I'm
Alyssa's here? Oh.
Well, she checked in for a while ago, and I didn't see it. Because we're nerding out.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
this is a
what we're here to
nerdathon.
do.
Become a nerdathon.
Yeah, this is a nerdathon.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're talking about the wrap tail. We're talking about the wrap trim.
Okay,
We're
now
talking
you
about
just
pirate earrings.
You just played that. Now play the junior is tuned to E natural, but play the junior
and
just as a point of reference. Play
okay.
the same-
And what are we listening for?
We're listening for this. What happens to the intervals on that guitar? when
Okay,
you-
so I'm just gonna play because I just wanted to hear some
Right.
stuff over that low drone
right.
because that's the thing that kind of freaks me out the most.
Mm-hmm.
Is and the word I keep using is it's sonorous.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is singing together. Now, all right. Yeah. And like down here, I'm not pissed off about that. But
Yeah, no thank. Like
hold
I said,
on, I'm gonna punch this chord in, and then
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
play. See, that's not as nasty as what I think I played.
But you know what's interesting, Joe? Is
Now,
that
play that top one you just played. Listen to that. See, it kind of goes. It's starting to go back in.
yeah, it comes back in, yeah, yeah.
Well, I can tell you that. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah,
I mean, it's close.
it's
not
not
horrible.
like that.
It's not that.
Not like that. And again,
But it has the
But
the
there's
harmonics
others.
bubbling up
Right.
from the
That's what I was
surface.
going to say. It has the same quality, sonic character as the rap tail.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a 55 junior being a 55 junior.
Right.
And here's a parts caster that's
that's an
That's
audience beater.
that's been butchered and was never that great to begin with, that's got coaxed into doing what that does. That's pretty phenomenal in my
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
I'm listening to that and I'm going, this. But that's what guys are paying $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for a new Gibson to do, and still it doesn't do it.
Right.
It kind of
It
promises to do it. It sort of implies it's going to do it, but when it comes right down to it, that bubbling up of the surface of the harmonics isn't coming out of it.
It's gorgeous.
That's
All of
badass.
the special, finish treatment and blah 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 blah.
No.
It's still got this one simple thing that needs to be fixed. That
Yeah.
you can go get an okay Les Paul for $1,500, $2,500. That's decent, and do this and I really think that what you're offering for Fender guitars, I think there's a place for you to make that refinement somehow available for Gibsons too, because then it takes them all the way.
Well, yeah, right.
And all of the aftermarket bridges that are out there don't do that by themselves. They need that extra little element that
Yeah.
you're bringing to the table.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that this.
But there's a lot more fenders.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on.
Yeah.
It was never intended to be mounted like that to a base plate.
Right.
You know, it was
Right.
meant as a standalone. So that's what you're getting the benefit of that marriage. You know.
Question.
Sure.
What happened to that guitar you played in Woodstock?
Oh man, fucked if I know. I probably ruined it one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ruined a lot of guitars, it sounds like.
Well, yeah. I mean, I sanded through the back. I
Oh.
sanded through the neck on several early '60s Strats to expose the truss rod.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
because I
You were
thought
trying to
thinner
turn it
necks
into
was
an
better.
Ibanez.
So you know, I've destroyed several houses worth of guitars
Oh man.
already. But that was when they were $300 because
Yeah.
that was in the '60s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were just kind of.
So
And
it
you
wasn't-
sanded the back of the neck to expose the truss rod for
Right.
what reason?
To make it thin.
You're just trying to like take
to-
the
I
body off
thought
the
thin
back.
necks were good. You know, I was just restless. I had a lot of time on my hands. So
Yeah, I did the same thing on a what was that? I was just thinking of the name, and then when I was going to say it, it went right out of me. Hagstrom.
oh, Hagstrom.
Hagstrom had a really super skinny neck already, and I'm sanding it thinner.
Yeah.
And then, it's got this whole I-beam thing. It just immediately popped out the back.
Oh wow.
I went, oh.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Two
Uh-oh.
truss rods with
Yeah.
an I-beam down the middle of them so that the neck could be this thick.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to make it thinner.
Sure.
I've told this story on here before, but I remember going to this vintage guitar shop in Denver in the mid '90s, and there's a nice collection of old Strats on the wall, and like there were a few late '50s, a couple early '60s, and I walk up and I look at a few of them up close, and I'm going, what the hell? Someone glued these necks in.
Oh, yeah,
Remember?
I remember this.
Strats?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And I asked, the proprietor about it, and he said, oh yeah, that was, and I don't remember the guy's name. He was a prominent guitar repairman there. Like, I think still was at the time. He's like, yeah, there was a time period where he was convinced that that's what you had to do with these old bolt-ons. To have
Glue
them
them
be,
in.
yeah. And honestly, they were a crappy job, because I could tell they were glued. You could see it.
Yeah.
You're like, what are you doing? They're just like, so I don't know. Maybe a buddy of yours.
Probably.
Like, I'll do this part. and then glue it.
Yeah, I'll ruin the neck and you glue it in.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, we've all seen some really horrendous stuff, and you're one of the guys that actually created some of that horrendous stuff, and
That's right.
and more power to you, because when you break something, you learn something. You bring something to the table after having done that.
Yeah.
It yields a result, and that's the difference between sawing shit in half and just like going, "Yeah, I was an idiot," or I learned something really important.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah.
gonna bring that to the table
Yeah.
the next time we talk.
Well,
He in the rack days, he was like really, he had his head wrapped around the rack concept pretty early on. And
Do
I
you know
had,
that I had the first memory switching system?
yeah,
I was
and
Bob Bradshaw's first client.
I actually made a
Huh.
little memory system too very early on, and so we got to talking about that, and then I hadn't seen him for a while. And about a year or two later, I went over to his place, and he had this rack he was working on. He'd taken a solid-state Fender amp and sawed the ends of the chassis off so that it would fit in a rack.
That was when I was on a mission to make a 3-channel amp, power amp,
Yeah,
to match my 3-speaker cabinet.
yeah,
Because I wanted a center, left, and right.
yeah.
Right. So I sawed a Fender, whatever their solid state piece of shit was at that time.
Saw the
Saw the
sides
end
off.
of it off.
Yeah, so it would fit in.
The chassis. So
I went in there and
He
you
had it on the
sawed the
top
whole
of my cabinet.
3 or 4 inches off the end of the chassis, and I'm like going,
Well,
man
I don't
after
need
my
that.
own heart.
Oh,
I was
man.
laughing so
Where are
hard.
the pictures?
Oh,
But
totally.
the funny part, I sawed the cabinet off the same amount and screwed it back on with wood screws.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
You know, it didn't bother like Tolexing it or anything. Just real ugly, man.
What would have been the point? Really?
And you showing up with this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a professional.
It
Yeah.
reminds me of there was a guy that he was he was a teacher at Valley Arts, guitar teacher, jazz guy, played a lot of jazz gigs and weddings and bar mitzvahs and stuff like that, and he always had the junkiest shit, and he had this pedal board. This is Valley Arts in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, the nadir of pedal boards, the place you went to get a pedal board made. We had all this kind of pedal board stuff. We had cases, we had power supplies, we had buffers, we had switchers, we had everything.
Okay.
We made a lot of I made power supplies there.
All right.
That we sold under the brand of Valley Arts Power Supply. We put all these pieces together and make these really great pedal boards. And this guy that's in with all of us has got this. It looks like a piece of this brown tinted paneling off of a wall.
Yeah.
It looks like the piece that when the construction guys came in, it's just started hammering, hitting the wall with sledgehammers to knock it down.
It's all
the,
chipped.
these odd shaped pieces of paneling and shit. That's what it looked like. It was this odd
So
shape,
trash.
trash, split around the edges and stuff.
Yeah.
Had a handle on it. The handle was a piece of coat hanger
Whoa.
through the holes and then just stuck in there. And he had a few pedals on it. And that was his pedal board. And he
Wow.
proudly carried that thing around. And he went to these nice gigs and he'd throw his pedal board down the floor. And people were like, do you have a car? Did you like take a skateboard to get here? And did you make it yourself too? And does it look as bad as that? You know, he was just one of those guys that didn't want to spend a nickel on anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because every dollar he made on those gigs, he probably had a wife and 2 kids to support. You know, it wasn't one of these
Yeah.
average guys. Oh yeah, I'm going to spend a few $100 on a pedal. No, $3 is the budget.
That's
And
all
he was a
you
great
get.
player. You know, everybody
Yeah.
respected him. But when he came in with the pedal board, it was like, look away,
Yikes,
look
yeah.
away. You can't unsee it.
Yeah, right. It will haunt you.
I mean, to this day, I remember it like it was yesterday. What that thing looked like.
Well, we've been on for 2 hours.
Oh Jesus! Well, I think that we've accomplished whatever it is we thought we were setting out to accomplish. I don't know, except just to have fun and hear some great stuff and find out that there's 10 more layers of just a guitar instrument, regardless of pickups and knobs and pots and anything else, tuners, just how the strings are connected to the body to explore and optimize, which is pretty fucking fantastic, I think. And so thanks for calling me about that, because I'm really excited about it. And you know, of course, we're going to talk about that some more. We've got some stuff to talk about.
You know what I think? The most apropos thing we could do to end the show is have
Not-
Buzz hack his way through Kashmir.
No. No. You'd have to show it to me first. No,
That's the point.
No, bro. First of all, I can't play this. No. No. I don't even want to look at it because, you know, I just took one look at the bridge and I know that's not gonna.
Yeah,
quite
he's
cut it.
just like all he sees is I just want to.
It's
I
like,
want to take it
I
apart.
put in these hundreds of hours of pain,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I want to benefit from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I don't know.
So
Buzz, take us out.
look
That would be
look for
beautiful.
look for this. It's coming to a theater near you, and probably the early part of next year. Production ones will be available, and I'm going to do everything I can to get Joe to get one of his guitars done, because I know that you've got something that you'd be willing to experiment on.
Oh hell yeah! No, my main guitar.
My main guitar.
Oh, I'm sold, man. Hell you.
And let me just say that it would have sounded just as wonderful on the junior, but because that's all he does is. So, thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you for hanging out with us, and hope you're feeling better.
I'm gonna go home and go to bed.
Go home, get some sleep. I'm gonna go to work in the morning, and I don't know what I'm gonna accomplish, but I'm gonna give it a shot. And all you people that are also going to work in the morning, thanks for hanging with us.
Thank you, brother.
And ciao. Love y'all. See you soon.